is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Justified, Season 6, Episode 7, The Hunt. In this episode, I don't like where this is going. I don't think he's going to kill her. He's not going to kill her. Is he going to kill her? Don't tell me. Welcome to Unspoiled.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some? I'm fighting for my soul, God, get at you, boy. You try to go, God, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some?
Ain't that the question?
All right. So, I'm going to start at the end here. Everybody, you can forgive me, I'm sure. You'll be fine. But I really underestimated the relevance in the end of Boyd asking for a clean slate for himself. Like, I brought it up that was a fucked up thing for him to do and that he's basically abandoned Ava. But he did do that after she had kind of told him she didn't want his help anymore and walked away from him. So I think that I sort of wrote it off mentally that, like, well, she made her choice and what is he going to do? But the fact that he didn't really seem to be that worried about it after, but was perfectly willing to pick up the relationship once she was out, once it got easy, that is pretty fucked up. And I don't really think I gave it enough thought for how it would look from her perspective. So I ordinarily am the person who's like, oh, they betrayed you. You've got to kill them. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about this. Like, the way that it works to keep yourself in check when you are somebody in power and people need to know that you mean business, you've got to kill them when they fuck up and do this kind of shit to you, especially for an extended period of time. But because of the circumstances of everything, I think she has a 100% legit point, and I think he needs to step the fuck back and apologize, because he doesn't actually apologize. It just comes down to the two of them kind of going, well, do you trust me? Do you trust me? And there is never I'm sorry, I totally threw you to the fucking wolves, which is, I think, pretty needed at this point. So, in summary, I am going to break with my normal stance of being very strict, and I think that he needs to forgive her, apologize, and accept that she was doing what she needed to do to stay alive. The end. So that's where I'm at with that. Hi, everyone. I'm Natasha.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alan. And we've seen all the way to the end of this episode, at least.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen a little bit further.
I've seen to the end of this episode twice. 2 times, everybody. No joking around here. Yeah, I really liked this episode, though. This one grabbed me. I did, too. On the rewatch, yeah. I really, still was very engaged, you know?
Yeah, I did, too. When I saw it was Winona coming back, I forgot it was a whole episode. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, uh-oh, okay, was this a good thing or not? And it's a pretty enjoyable episode. Mm-hmm. It really kind of... We had that moment where Raylan and Ava kissed a few episodes ago, and this, I guess, seems like it's resolving that and just repairing people. Mm-hmm. So, which was probably necessary.
Yes.
And and now does a better job of maybe drawing lines and setting the stage. Kind of. Obviously, we get a little bit more from Boyd at the end that says maybe this isn't exactly what it appears, but yeah, I really enjoyed this one as well. I liked seeing Raylan totally out of his element.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty funny.
And I liked having Winona back. I really did. I enjoyed her.
Winona just feels so much more interesting all of a sudden. And I don't want to say that it's the baby that made her interesting. I feel like it's her changing her stance on Raylan that has made her interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, I found her kind of tedious. Obviously, I've said this before. And I thought that she was, I don't know. I was rooting for the two of them a little bit more, and I really didn't expect to. I kind of was like, oh, she's back in town, I guess, sure, whatever. And then once we got started down that road, I was like, oh, actually, you know what? I kind of want this to work out. So that's a nice feeling, to give a shit. It's always good.
Totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. Amazing how much of a difference that makes. Right. So this episode is Season 6, Episode 7, The Hunt. This was written by Taylor Elmore and Keith Schreier. This is Elmore's 11th of 12 episodes he wrote, Schreier's 3rd of 4 episodes he wrote. And this is directed by John Dahl. This is his last episode. He's done 6 of them in total. Okay. And before this, he directed The Hammer, where we meet the judge. For Blood or Money, which was that episode with Rachel's brother that I absolutely hated.
Right.
He did one episode in season 3 called Measures, Outlaw in season 4, which is where Arlo was killed, and Wait in last season, which was the death of Danny. Those were all John Dahl. So he's done a lot of good episodes, and then that one that I hated. So,
yeah, that one that you hate, I hate also. Like, that was pretty terrible. Yeah. And I always just really, I wish that I could see a little bit more the detail in how much the writing dictates what's going to happen, or the overall storyboard for the season, I guess. Mm-hmm. You know, like, okay. When I'm looking at an episode like this one that I feel like went so well and was compelling and really tense, and then you had something as terrible as that episode, like, did he just kind of not have a choice in how that was going to go? Was there just only so much he could do with the material that he was given, you know? Or could there have been a way that I don't know how much control they really have in the end, you know?
Yeah, I mean, as I understand it, on film, the director is king. On TV, the writers are king. Yeah. And so I really think the directors are a lot more interchangeable on TV. In fact, I know directors are a lot more interchangeable on TV than they are in the movies. But, you know, a good director with a good sense of style or a good sense of, you know, the characters or the tone of the show, I mean, they can certainly save a bad script or at least make it more interesting. Mm-hmm. But I also think at that point, because I think that was season 2, episode 3. And, like, it's still a pretty episodic show at that point. Like, it was really mystery of the week, a lot more so than it is these days. Not mystery of the week, but you know what I mean, case of the week.
Right, yeah.
And I think this was maybe one of their very first attempts to give the side characters a little more to do. Okay. And unfortunately, it hit that race button that really skeeves me. Mm-hmm. And it just wasn't a great episode. I actually liked it more when we covered it on the show. It made me appreciate little bits of it a bit more. Okay. But it really is just overall, that episode didn't need to exist.
It's so funny how that can happen. Like, you can talk about, like, I learned how drastically I can go in the other direction where something doesn't seem that bad, and then I start talking about it and I'm like, oh, this is actually fucking terrible. Like, that's what happened with Daredevil in the 2nd season. I went into beginning to talk about it with Maggie, and I was just like, wait, oh, I forgot about this other stupid thing. Hold on, this is garbage. But yeah, you can totally go in the other direction where something irritated the fuck out of you. And then once you start to discuss it, you start to see things, and you're like, well, actually, that's actually not too bad.
Yeah, it's still a net loss for the show. That episode shouldn't exist.
Agreed.
But it's always nice to discover redeeming qualities and things.
Yes.
So this is John Dahl's last episode, and I'm glad he went out on a good one because, you know, I hope that happens to everybody. So we open this episode basically by checking in with all of our major players. Our first scene takes place basically right after the end of the last episode with Rachel and the deputies trying to apprehend Ty Walker and setting up roadblocks and trying to get the lay of the land and figure out what kind of resources they have. It turns out they have one helicopter, which Rachel is displeased with.
Oh my God. I feel so bad. Like, Rachel's trying to do a good job, and she's obviously taking this shit really seriously, and she's just feeling like nobody else is taking this shit seriously. And I feel bad for her in some ways because I know that it's pure coincidence that Raylan is really trying to, like, get his other life together at the same time that she's, but I'm sure to her it looks like he's just dismissive of her, you know, like, yeah, that would fucking bug me if I were in her shoes. I'd be getting pretty pissed. So
yeah. Oh yeah, and Tim is just too busy focusing on Rachel talking about how they're stuck chasing their dicks.
Yep.
To do anything constructive.
Buddy, fucking focus, you know?
Exactly. It actually reminds me very much of my boss, who is now she's the director of our department, and she is the young female director of our department. Incredibly competent, incredibly good, but she and I have talked about, as much as we love the people we work with, she's in one of those positions where she's got to work twice as hard to look half as good as, you know, that benefit of the doubt that a lot of the other people up the chain are getting because they get to be a part of the boys club and she doesn't.
Yep. Yeah, you just get second guessed a lot more, and people just assume that you're like There have been a couple instances recently in the press where there was one guy who was accidentally emailing from a female coworker's email without realizing it, and all of a sudden, all of the clients that he normally worked with were suddenly way more difficult, and he couldn't figure it out. And there had been like a progress report where he came out as being more productive than his female colleague. And she works really hard, and he acknowledged that. And they acted like, I guess you just work a little bit more slowly, but you still get it done, so it's fine. And then once he started to hit brick walls with these people, he was so baffled, and people were questioning him about stuff that he definitely knew about, saying things as if, this is the industry standard, when they weren't, and just, speaking to him with this kind of like condescension that he had never heard before. And then after about 2 days, he realized he had been signing everything with her signature from her email. And it was like night and day. He said this one customer who should have been something he could have done overnight, it took him almost a week. And then finally he was like, hey, this is Keith, because he just couldn't take it anymore. Like, he was planning to just finish with her name on it. Mm-hmm. And finally he was just like, this is Keith, I'm taking over for Sarah. And the guy was like, oh, great, Keith, good ideas. And it was like a 180. He posted the whole thing on Twitter, just like how blown away he was. And then there was a couple women who were doing a startup, and when they messaged people about getting involved in investment and whatever, they were treated as if they hadn't done their business plan. They were like, the language that was used was, that's a really cute idea, things like that, like in this sort of infantilizing, is that how you say it?
Sure.
But they invented a male coworker.
I heard about this.
And they started to sign everything from him. And all of a sudden, people started to take them seriously and treat their business idea as something that actually, it wasn't just a cute little niche, like, hobby thing. It was a real thing all of a sudden. So yeah, Rachel girl, I feel you. I'm sorry. And I'm not even trying to say that isn't an aspect of it. Would he be acting this way if Art were here? I mean,
100%.
Like, I don't know. It's so, yeah.
Well, I also think it's a nice opportunity to see, because Art has been doing this for so long that he's just like, whatever. Mm-hmm. And Rachel is doing that, but she's doing it through the lens of somebody who's just getting used to, like, this is the way this stupid department works.
Right.
As opposed to Art, I think, who's rolled with it for so long that he half doesn't care anymore. He does care, but, she doesn't let it roll off her back the way that he does. So it's just a nice little moment for her. She doesn't get to do much else. So, so Rachel's giving out assignments. Raylan says, like, no, he can't. He has a thing. And then he pretends that he has PTSD. It's like a movie. I keep reliving it.
Oh, my God.
And so she has to give him time off.
I'm not trying to be funny, but that was like that. I feel bad for how funny I found that. Like, and her rolling her eyes and just being like, yeah, okay, go ahead. Like, she's so, yeah, that's pretty good, Raylan.
And she lets him go, but she also says, like, and if you happen to run across this guy on your time off, then, just don't.
Right.
Which is kind of funny because this is maybe the one time in the history of the series where he really isn't trying to go after this guy on his own.
I know, right? Like, you understand 100% why she would assume that. But yeah, this turns out to, like, be the rare instance where he's going to go spend time with family. What?
Right? Yeah. So then we go to Seabass and to Avery Markham. And they are talking to Ty on speakerphone. He's calling them from... he's from the trunk of a car. Not the trunk of a car, I'm sorry, but a car that he's clearly stolen. Yeah. And he's in bad shape. He's in bad shape.
Did I say this last episode that he was going to have to, like, cut ties with him? Mm-hmm. I was actually pretty surprised that Ty even, like, called for help. Because I felt like it was pretty clear the type of dude that Avery was and that this wasn't going to fly. But Ty is no fool, so he hears in his voice. So I guess probably Ty wasn't calling with a full expectation. He was just calling to feel out the situation and got his answer.
Yeah, that's a good guess. I also think maybe if he just got Seabass, that he may have actually gotten the help he was hoping for.
Oh, he would, yeah. Seabass wouldn't have... I mean...
Oh, I take it back, actually. It says that he wants to talk to both of them. That's actually a line in the script. So he is actually talking to Avery specifically.
Okay. But I don't think you're wrong, though. Like, if he had just gotten Seabass... I'm saying he would have gotten the help he was after. That's not true. Seabass would have tried to help him. He wouldn't have wound up getting the help he was after. But his friend would have tried.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. But he tells them where he's holed up, and he's at this church, and please come get me. And then after he hangs up, Seabass is ready to go, and Avery stops him and says, like, no, Ty's burned. We both know he's not going to be where he says he is, which is weird to me. Like, why did he say it? Unless he thinks they're being bugged and he's trying to throw people off the scent. I don't know. They never really come back to that point.
I think he's hoping that they haven't picked up the fact that he's onto them. Like, I think he just tells them in the hopes that, maybe I had a good enough poker face that they think that I'm for real, and they'll go probably to what is the exact opposite side of town to where he's at, and it will buy him some time. Because I would expect, if I were him and they're planning on writing me off, that if they don't know that I'm, like, injured enough that I might die anyway, they will come and try and finish the job, right?
So you think that he's expecting they're going to come kill him. Not even they're not going to come for me. They are going to come for me.
Yeah.
I'm not walking out of that room alive.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I buy that. And Seabass, though, he wants to go, and Avery offers him several $1,000s, just giant stacks of money to buy his loyalty. And after a moment, Seabass is pretty, amenable to that.
Yeah, this is the kind of situation where I feel like it looks like bad for Seabass, and I'm not even trying to, like, there is a point where you just make your choice. And whether or not you could have succeeded at doing the other thing, maybe not the most relevant part. It's still you made your choice. But I think once he starts telling Seabass, like, you're going to get nailed if you go out there, because they know, like, they're watching all of us. Seabass didn't have anything else that he could do that was smart, if he wanted to stay alive or out of jail or whatever.
And they also very pointedly show that drawer that Avery is reaching into has stacks of money and a revolver. Mm-hmm. So I think if Seabass said, no way, man, I got to go after my guy, he probably would have gotten shot in the back.
Yeah, because, like, if he gets picked up by the cops, this dude, he is not a criminal, as Raylan pointed out. So you don't know how he's going to react to pressure. Right. Like, that's just a real variable that I would be very worried about. Because I'm sure Avery expected more from these two and never thought that they were going to get picked up in the first place. So now that he has to contend with that possibility, it really changes what their skill set is worth,
Right. Exactly. That's a really good way to put that. So Seabass agrees, and then we go to Boyd and Ava, and the last thing we saw was Boyd learning that Ava had, if not outright betrayed him, certainly tried to run.
Mm-hmm.
But this scene opens up with him coming in, all smiles, grabbing her by the waist, and just romancing her and saying that the two of them are going to head up to his daddy's cabin in the mountains. He betrays absolutely no hint of the phone call he just took.
Nope.
But he's also not taking no for an answer. And he says, meet me at the truck in 5.
Yeah, like, she's like, I kind of wanted to stay home. And he's like, it wasn't a request. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, he got real nasty for a second there. Like, when he gets mean with her, it is really alarming. I forget how scary Boyd can be. I really forget. And I don't give him... I think sometimes I just see him as kind of a little stinker kind of character. You know what I mean? Like,
totally.
And I forget, like, this guy, I mean, and it's weird that I say that because he fucking, like, in the very first episode of this season, shot poor Dewey in the back of the head. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, Dewey was such a mess that it felt like he was going to die at some point terribly anyway. But yeah, I just don't remember sometimes how threatening and determined and just single-minded he can be. He gets focused on something and that's it, you know?
Yeah. You know, and I will say Boyd often doesn't find himself surrounded by people where he has to push that out, or show off that side to him.
Right.
So, yeah, this episode does a good job of reminding us that he can definitely go there if he needs to. Our last scene, before we get to our credits, is back to Raylan, who finally gets to meet his daughter. And Winona's back, and she is more than a little surprised that Raylan is not going anywhere while she's home.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect that either. I understand her surprise.
Yeah. So it's a cute little scene. All the stuff with Raylan and his daughter, honestly, I found to be pretty cute.
Yes, and I appreciated that they have a scene with him trying to talk to Winona and the baby wailing, because that's really the most true. They're like, in shows like this, it doesn't seem like they tend to show that side of being a parent unless they're trying to cultivate an atmosphere of total chaos in general in that scene. Or establish that, like, this house is a terrible mess or things like that. And it'll usually be with side characters and not the main characters. And the fact that there's nothing else happening in that scene. Winona's not trying to run around and get things together and the baby's crying and the car's outside and the mailman's here. It's just the two of them trying to fucking have a fucking conversation and this baby won't shut the fuck up. And I really loved it so much. Oh, God, I don't want kids. I am so glad every single fucking day. Every day, I am just so glad I don't have kids.
Yeah. Bless. One of Amanda's best friends is due in about a week for her first child. And her husband they can't afford to move right now, so they're in the house that they're renting. And the way this house is set up has 2 giant spiral staircases, one that goes up to the bedroom, one that goes down to the basement. The basement's not really usable. And has some mold problems they really need to get fixed. They can't do the spiral staircase thing with the baby, so they've had to rearrange the entire house. So their bedroom and the baby's room and everything is all on that first floor. And that entire spot, except for the bathroom door, is completely open. The kitchen, the dining area, the living room, which is now the bedroom, is all just one room. And so I was watching that scene and thinking, they are in for some shit in the first 6 months or year or whatever of that child's life, because they're not going to be able to get away from anything. Upstairs is now basically a storage area. Downstairs isn't really a place where you can do very much. I've never been down there, but that's my understanding. But they have essentially a studio apartment with that child. And that just seems like the least fun thing on the planet, as much as I do want.
You.
Yeah, and I do want kids, but I look at that and just go, oh, God.
Right? Yeah, so, I have a couple friends who right now, they just he inherited this house from his uncle. And, you know, inheriting a house sounds great until it's a dump. and it's kind of a dump. And like they're redoing it. It's not like it's unlivable, but it's going to be a lot of work. Like it's a pretty big place with a lot of land. It just is going to take a lot of money and a lot of time. And they just got married in January, and she's already talking about having kids, like starting to try. And I'm like, are you high? Like, you know, okay, live your life. If you can do it, then sure. But it's like, I can't imagine the kind of perfect circumstances that I would have to be living in to even consider having a kid. And I know that people say, well, you know, there's no right time. I mean, maybe not, but there's better than that, right? Like, Jesus. I'm not meant to be a mom. That's all there is to it.
Well, end. You know, but at least you know that about yourself. So
right.
You know, anyway, we'll come back to the baby later. We get our opening credits, and when we come back, we are back in the mine shaft, and Carl and Zachariah are arguing about what their next step is, because they have this body who's now, you know, the pig's body is fallen down the mine shaft into God knows where.
Oh my God.
And Carl wants to go call Boyd immediately, and Zachariah is saying, no, we need to wait to tell him in person, because that's the etiquette of the mine. That's mine culture. Is we need to go to him, you know, ourselves and explain to him what happened. Don't call him. And Carl basically says,
go fuck yourself. I'm doing what I want.
I'm doing what I want, which is the right thing, because Zachariah is secretly trying to knock them all off, clearly.
Right. I'm just like wondering what he was actually planning to do here. That's my main question. Is just, all right, I get that you don't want to go up and talk to him, but what were you going to push him down the shaft? Were you just going to wait for each individual person to be like, what happened? And just shove them each down there like this is a fucking like vaudeville sketch? I just don't know what his actual plan was, you know?
That's a very good question. Yeah. And this is real. I think this is all we see of them this episode. So
yeah.
We still don't really know. But they do that moment where Carl is looking over the mine shaft, and really all he has to do is push him. And instead they do the thing where he grabs him and yanks him back. So he definitely could have knocked off both of them.
Yeah.
And Boyd would have clearly smelled something, but, you know, technically he would never have been the wiser.
Yeah, I don't know, like, how many dudes can you just be like, oh, it was an accident, before he starts to be like, hey, wait a second.
Yeah, you kind of go like H.H. Holmes style, where he hired different people to build different parts of his house and then killed them, so nobody knew what the entire house was built like.
Right?
Just accident. Yeah, it was an accident. Oh, yeah.
Whoopsies.
Fired that guy, and then he fell on his knife the next day.
Isn't that what, who was it that built the Red Keep in Song of Ice and Fire? And they did the same thing, right?
That's right.
I can't remember who it was now. Steven would know. Where are you, Steven? Anyway,
we go back to the hotel or motel, and Winona tells Raylan that the reason she's up here is it turns out that baby Willa has a grade 4 heart murmur.
Yeah.
And so she's back in Kentucky to visit a pediatric cardiologist that got recommended, because they need to know if this is going to be an actual medical issue she's going to have to contend with, or if it's something that's just going to go away as she gets older. She also casually mentions that her mom has set her up on a date. Also, Winona takes unnecessary pot shots at Wallace Shawn. What the fuck?
That is really funny, because when she said that line, I was like, I bet Alan's going to be annoyed by that.
I am.
Here you are.
Like Wallace Shawn. We can't all be Timothy Oliphant, all right?
That is a fucking truth that you just said right there. Honestly, I was like, she maybe did him a kindness, because can you imagine going on a date with her if it works out, and then meeting her ex and it's fucking Timothy Oliphant? Like,
oh God, I would have such a complex.
I would never be able to get over that. That's like finding out that Owen's ex was like Rebecca Romaine, you know, just kill me. Jesus.
Yeah. And she also sort of drops the question of custody of the baby. Mm-hmm. And kind of like, so we're clearly not together, so what is our deal? You know?
Yeah.
Which is a very good question, because, you know, I guess by the end of the episode, we know what they're going to try for, but we've been a little unclear on exactly what their status is.
Mm-hmm.
They seemed very broken up until suddenly she's calling him and Skyping with him from Florida and talking, all lovey-dovey.
Yeah, I really was kind of surprised at the turn this took. I'm not even surprised that she wants to get back together, because I feel like if you are a single parent, especially a woman, when so much is expected of you and it's just so physically draining to like have given birth and breastfeed and everything, I would totally understand staying with somebody who isn't great for you just because you need the fucking help. Holy shit,
Right.
And that might be all it is, but I definitely got the feeling that she was being very sincere about just straight up missing him.
Yes.
And I didn't really expect that, her saying that, like, knowing for sure he's not coming home is so much worse than wondering when the hell he's coming home.
Yeah. And I don't feel like that's a conversation I've ever heard in a TV show before.
No.
Usually it's that first one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I just really don't like I said, I understand the impulse wanting help, but to me, uncertainties are way worse. Like, knowing for sure he's not coming home would release me of a lot of anxiety, I feel like. So I do not see eye to eye with her in that assessment. But if it works for her, then good, because she needs the help, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we go back to Ava and Boyd, and they are at the Crowder family cabin in Bullettville, which was where our season 1 finale took place.
Right.
And they are settling in, and Boyd opens up the floorboards and pulls out one of the last surviving bottles of Pappy Van Winkle from the warehouse fire of 95. Man.
I wonder how much that bottle will be worth. Like,
yeah, I get the impression it's like that it's supposed to be good stuff and hard to find, but it also, maybe it's just like sentimental value.
Yeah, probably.
Because he stole it from his daddy. He stole one case, and from that one case, he stole one bottle or whatever. There's a whole story attached to it. And he was going to be saving this for his wedding night. But given the current circumstances, he thinks that they should do it now.
Mm-hmm.
And
which I feel like should have been a giant red flag, and maybe it was. She seems nervous, so...
I think it's one of those things where she's in a state of mind where everything sounds like a threat.
Mm-hmm.
So, because then he looks at the engagement ring he gave her and talks about writing their own vows, and he wants to talk to her about commitment, trust, loyalty. Those are important words.
I was so glad when she finally is like, listen, just say what you're gonna fucking say. She got so annoyed. It was great.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Time for this shit, man.
Stop beating around the bush eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't quite there yet. Instead, though, this does turn into an argument because, Boyd talks about how his dad used to hit his mom, and Ava talks about how Bowman used to beat on her.
Mm-hmm.
And Boyd keeps saying, "If I ever hurt you in any way, I ain't my brother." He goes, "Well, you are a Crowder, aren't you?"
Yeah, like he says, well, I haven't found a reason to hit a woman yet.
Yeah.
In this fucking way that I just like, I really appreciated that she's immediately like, oh, what? So you think you could find one? With her voice going up into the friggin' upper octaves at the end there. I was like, yeah, girl, say something about that, because what the fuck? It's just a fucked up, like, this is something that I don't think he could possibly understand, the visceral sort of reaction that kind of threat holds. And he's trying to act like it's... He knows what it's about because he suspects her being disloyal here.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have to be about anything. It could just be him being a fucking asshole. Right. And how scary that is, Like, this is what women talk about a lot with guys making like rape jokes and stuff, that it's like, you see it as a joke because this is not a constant fear for you. But not only is Ava a woman, and so dealing with abusive men is just in general a threat she has to cope with as a woman, but she was in a super abusive relationship in which she finally blew her husband away. It doesn't get much more fucking personal and traumatic than that. And he's over here trying to act like he could just say that and that she's not supposed to react, or that her reaction is going to be a giveaway somehow, when in fact that reaction is just a giveaway that you're being a shitbag and not necessarily about any particular betrayal on her part, you know? It's just like so tone deaf, dude. Holy shit.
Well, and even laying aside the fact that he is trying to provoke a certain reaction, he's saying this stuff like as if he is not a man of violence. You know, as if he doesn't routinely threaten people, harm people, kill people. You know, there's no circumstance over which you can, like, I haven't found a reason yet. That's ridiculous. You know, it's not like I don't have it in me. Bullshit.
Right.
And this ends with things escalating to the point where Boyd insists that Ava hit him. And then Boyd grabs her by the throat, and she has bruises on her throat for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, she do. Those were serious.
Yeah. And now this immediately turns into them like kissing frantically and stripping their clothes off. But I feel like that scene could have gone one of two ways.
Yeah.
So
I got real mixed feelings about it because, like, on the one hand, far be it from me to kink shame, but, you know, maybe there's a part of her that gets off on it. Like, there's certainly something to be said for women internalizing trauma and turning it into a kink. Like, a lot of women who have been raped go on to have a kink of rape play in order to sort of try and take control back of the situation that was completely out of their hands at one point. So there might be something like that going on with her, but it really did feel like we're just not going to address this. We're just going to, like, make out and, like, be like, this is fine. Like, it felt like they were having a serious confrontation and then they just dropped it. And for why, you know, like, I don't know. It just was rather confusing to me, I'll be honest.
Nope, totally agreed. Totally agree. Because we've never seen that. Obviously, we've never been in the bedroom with them before, so maybe that is a thing that they used to do, and now they're doing it with a more serious undertone than it would have been in season 3.
Right.
But we've never seen that before. Instead, it's just them being really close and really intense, and then it erupts into sex.
Yeah, and, like, she looks sincerely scared. She's like, Boyd, like, she can't breathe. Like, I don't know. I was just, I kind of like how ambiguous the scene is, to be honest, that it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because people just don't make sense, let's be honest. But I definitely came away from it just going, I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah, you know, or maybe it's just a version of the thing she did a few episodes ago where Boyd's questioning her, and so she pulls back the sheet and she's completely naked. You know, it
maybe
could be changing the tone of the conversation by jumping on top of him.
Right.
I don't know that I buy that totally, but just a thought.
Yeah.
But again, it also really doesn't come back to us in this episode. So, moving on, we go to a roadside gas station where we watch Ty Walker clean his own bullet wound.
Yeah, Ty Walker's kind of badass. Holy shit.
It is horrifying. I had mentioned last episode that he only got winged, I thought, and I would like to revise that statement.
Right.
Because that shit is buried in his shoulder, and he needs to dig it out with a knife on camera.
Yep.
It is bloody and sweaty and, like, just all kinds of awful.
I always, like, wonder, because, you know, you hear about how repetitive being in television and movies are, and this kind of scene where it takes this intense physical reaction, I just can't help but wonder how exhausted he must have been after he did this. Like, god damn, that shit is the reaction that he has on while he's and he's wearing a vest, BT Dubs. So it's just pure bad luck that it didn't hit the vest, and like the bullet went all the way through and is pressing up against the skin in the front of his shoulder.
And it's all bruised and distended. Yeah.
It's horrifying. So he has to cut open an unwounded part of his shoulder to squeeze the bullet out of it like he's popping a zip, basically. It's fucking ghastly.
And the camera does not cut away.
Not at all.
So it's pretty, it's ghastly is exactly right. It's really disturbing.
And he's got some like powdered, like, you know, God knows what antiseptic type stuff that he like pours on it. But other than that, he's got a bunch of like sketchy ass tri-fold paper towels from the bathroom.
He's pushing them into his skin.
Oh, I can't. I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. And then there's pounding on the restroom door. Mm-hmm. So he opens it up and he runs into some Harry Potter fans.
Oh my God. I cannot tell you how delighted I was by his brother. Maybe Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Oh, guys, you sweet summer children. Walk away. I really thought he might kill them.
Oh,
I think so glad.
Crossed his mind.
It definitely did. I was just so glad that he just let it go. Because I was getting a little... And you know... They're shitheads, but they don't deserve to die, man. They just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Give them a break.
Yeah, he has no problem just intimidating the crap out of them. Mm-hmm. But then he buys them off.
Yeah.
He makes up a story about, oh, you're headed to Florida. Well, thank God. I was trying to deliver this bulletproof vest to my old army buddy in Florida. Here's $300 and a couple of credit cards. Please deliver it to me to 1212 Main Street.
1212 Main Street. And I really don't know if these guys know what's happening.
I am sure that they didn't look too hard at it when he started shoving money at them.
Right, yeah. If I were, because they're probably like 21, maybe?
Maybe.
I, at their age, don't think that I would have quite grasped what was really happening here.
Yeah.
Like some weird stranger comes out of a bathroom, tells me to deliver something with this vague, like, shoves a bunch of money in my hand and runs off. I don't think I would get it at all. But yeah, this is just...
You know, we were talking the other day, or the other episode, about them walking up to homeowners in Harlem with briefcases full of money. Mm-hmm. And then going like, why isn't anybody taking the money? Mm-hmm. Because... this kind of scenario that is happening outside the restroom doesn't happen. And when it does, all of the alarm bells should be going off in your head. Right, exactly. So, yeah.
Luckily, they stay alive.
They do. They do. And Ty succeeds sort of in throwing people off of his trail, as we find out soon enough. Not really, but, you know, enough. It's enough of a distraction for a moment.
Right. And doesn't he tell him, like, not to go in the bathroom or something? And I was just kind of like, well, he could have just cleaned up, right? Like, I think he winds up going into the bathroom after all. But they just, like, seem really scared, so.
Yes, he definitely, he intimidates the hell out of them, or at least the one guy with the backwards hat. Mm. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. Heard something. Anyway, going back to the motel room, Raylan and Winona are, this is them, this is the scene we talked about. This is the argument scene, or the conversation scene with the crying, screaming, wriggling baby. Mm-hmm. And Raylan is mostly confused throughout the entire encounter. And Winona is exasperated with every bit of this.
Yes. Yeah, I love that he's like, is there anything that I can or should be doing? And she just is like, hey, you know, that's just giving me another thing to figure out how to occupy you on top of dealing with her, right? And he's like, yeah, that's fair. Just kind of like shuts him down completely.
And she also calls him, I was like, I'm fed up with your I couldn't care less thing. Mm-hmm. Which is pretty much his reaction to everything. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and, I mean, that's what he's, like, made his identity about. There's a line in Community where a teacher who has kind of had enough of Jeff Winger's shit is like, how long did it take you to put together the perfect pairing of jeans and sweatshirt sport coat to say, I don't care? and make your hair look like you just rolled out of bed like that. We all know you care. Like, and that's kind of how I feel about Raylan sometimes, is that he tries to act like this just happens. I just happen to look this good, but I don't really care. Come on, buddy. Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's definitely a very carefully manicured self-identity for Raylan there. And Winona is trying to get a straight answer from him about anything, and he can't seem to verbalize anything. So, yeah, the whole scene is just chaos, really. And it's just a snippet of what life is going to be like for Raylan and Winona as they raise this baby together.
And apparently he wants to be a part of this. I don't get it, but sure. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, apparently. So we go back to the mountains in the cabin, and it's still dark. And we get, this is actually our third shot this season of Ava asleep and Boyd standing over her watching her.
This fucking creep.
Yeah, it's him fully dressed with a lantern, and Ava is naked in bed, asleep. And he wakes her up bright and early because tells her she needs to get up and get dressed because it's the first day of Razorback season. And we gonna bag us a show.
I hate this so much. I just yeah. I'm just tired of him dancing around it, as she puts it. Yes, good call, Ava.
Yeah, and clearly he is just trying to throw her off at every available turn as much as he can. This whole escapade. It's how off balance can I get her?
Yeah, and it just feels really cruel. Like,
it is.
Just get to the fucking point, buddy. I'm just tired of him. That's what it is.
Agreed. Agreed. So after that, Ava's awake. She looks kind of confused and half asleep. We go back to Raylan and Winona. And Winona and Raylan, they make up slightly. We're also reminded of Raylan's love of ice cream.
Yes, which I had totally forgotten.
Me too. But yeah, he agrees to take the baby out for a while so Winona can get some sleep. And just, what is this sleep you speak of? But yeah, he says he's going to take the baby around, drive her around, maybe get us some ice cream. And that should help, right?
Yeah, I mean, getting the baby away from her is just straight up a win right there, No
doubt. No doubt.
That's something I think that a lot of men don't understand, is that they overcomplicate what women are looking for. Like, they're like, I don't know what women want. Listen, it's really not hard. We want to have delicious treats. We want to rest and nap. And we want somebody to act like they give a shit. And that's kind of it. It's not that hard.
You're kind of like tall cats like that, really.
Tall cats.
So Raylan leaves Winona to get some rest. And we go to the marshal's office, where Avery Markham comes face to face with Art. And Ty Walker's driver's license is projected on the wall behind him, nice and big. And Art and Avery sort of fence back and forth about being old.
Yeah, that was fun.
And Art is able to just sort of mention everything he knows and suspects about Avery's history and his relationships and his intentions.
Yeah, I really enjoyed. I love Art. He weaponizes his affability. It just makes himself seem like it's no big deal. I'm just making conversation, whatever. I know all your shit, buddy. Like, all of a sudden you're just like, wait, hold on, what? Not that Avery, I feel like this works better on people who probably don't have as much experience as Avery does. But yes, still, it's fun to watch it anyway.
And Avery never loses his Grinch face the entire time.
What is up? Seriously, can we redo the live action Grinch movie to be something that's good and have him be the Grinch? Because he's so perfect. I swear to God.
I want so much to visit the parallel universe with the Sam Elliott Grinch movie.
Would that be so much better? Come on.
I can't even envision it. I think it's a little too glorious.
Yeah, he has some gimlet eyes, man.
Some gimlet eyes?
Yeah. He's just glaring at him.
Okay, I don't know that that adjective.
I'm trying to think of how to describe it, and I'm like, I can't think of exactly how to, so I'm gonna look up the definition.
Is it Gimlet?
Yeah. If you say that someone has gimlet eyes, you mean that they look at people or things Collins English Dictionary, things very carefully and seem to notice every detail.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's how I feel about that.
I like that. He definitely has those eyes that kind of take everything in.
Yeah, he just seems piercing and knowing,
Yeah.
He's looking at him like, yeah, got your number, buddy. And he might not, but he sure gives the impression he does.
He does, yeah. He doesn't rise to any of it.
Nope.
And he says he's confused. Are you calling me a murderer or are you calling me a rat?
Mm-hmm.
And Art breezes right back over that. I like that because Avery is so shrewd and Art is so breezy. And they're both not saying what they mean ever.
Mm-hmm.
So it really is a pretty wonderful, exchange. And Art also insinuates some distrust between Avery and Catherine.
I really think Avery had to be the rat.
Yeah.
I really think he did. I think he's just playing it really, really well. He's being smart about it, but I think he was. I don't know.
It makes sense. I mean, everything lines up to say that there's a reason everyone suspects him.
How amazing would it be if it turned out Catherine was the rat, though? Like, that she played the audience and everybody so well. That'd be kind of outstanding if she pretended to think that he was the rat in order to kill him for a totally other reason and we don't even know about it. And then it turns out she was the rat the whole time. I'd kind of think that was rad.
That kind of would be rad. All right. It's a thought.
What's Raylan's daughter's name? Willa, right?
Willa, yes.
What a weird name. No offense to
I
any
like that
Willas
name.
listening. I just always think that they're saying Willow with a really pronounced Southern accent, and then I realize, like, no, that's how it is. But when Raylan comes in with her in her little white sweatshirt and sweatpant combo, her little white peplum sweatshirt, oh my God.
She's adorable.
She's so cute. And I gotta say, Raylan holding a baby kind of does it for me. Like,
is that right?
I don't want a baby. Don't get me wrong, but there's something very like seeing a man being paternal, and it's just kind of like, hey, what's up? You're responsible. Big part of me digs that.
Yeah, it's pretty adorable. Him and Art cross paths really briefly, and I love that Art loves to talk to the baby. Tim wants nothing to do with the baby.
God.
I'm sorry. Tim just snarks.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel wants nothing to do with the baby. Nelson really wants to hold the baby, and he's not allowed.
When Raylan asks Rachel if she wants to hold the baby, and she's like, "Did you ask him that?" I was like, "Rachel, girl, please be my friend. I just love her so much."
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty great. And Tim also fills Raylan in on that they're tracking Walker's credit cards and that he is stopped off at the liquor store and the porno shop and spent thousands of dollars, apparently.
Good God. I just don't... What do you spend thousands of dollars at a porn shop? Like...
It's a really good question. Because as expensive as those things are if you try to buy them there, because they are pretty pricey for DVDs.
Right.
Thousands of dollars. That's like 20 or 30 movies. Not nearly enough for two dudes going on vacation to Disney World or possibly the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
I'm just thinking, too, like I know that some dudes are free to jerk off in front of other dudes, like that this is a thing that is in some male relationships an occurrence. But it is just so weird to me. The idea of, like, you're out with your buddy, your brother. I don't know if they're brothers, but you go and buy a bunch of porn and then you're going to go stay in a hotel. I guess they aren't necessarily staying together. They probably had been planning on it, but now they got all the money in the world, so they don't need to worry about it. So, yeah, I just, I'm thinking, like, what a weird thing to be, like, planning to kind of do together,
When I was a freshman in college, it was right around when Napster was really big and just lots of file sharing before anybody knew anything about it, really. And I was in a room with like the 9 or 10 guys that I hung out with for most of my freshman year. And we found ourselves all standing around a computer watching a porno. And I was just looking around going, this is weird. This is just weird. I think I'm going to go.
Yeah, it's just the kind like I've known a couple dudes who would jerk off with their friends.
Really?
Yeah, and it's just like it's something that I just can't wrap my head around. Like, why not even how does that happen the first time is the main question, you know? Like, what makes that a thing that you ever tried? And then what makes it a thing that you all are like, oh yeah, that was great, let's do that again. Like, what do you get out of it? And I just don't understand it. To me, jerking off is like kind of a perfunctory activity. Like, you get it done. You know what I mean? And the idea of making it sort of like weirdly a group activity, but not one in which anybody interacts with the other, is sort of like, it feels like it's making more trouble out of it than it's worth.
No, I feel like it starts with two guys who don't really know anything about this, and one of them sort of discovers this thing and has to go like, have you ever tried this?
Yeah, I guess so.
You know, and there's got to be, I don't think there has to be, but I have to imagine it can start with somebody who does sort of have like latent homosexuality or something where it's just like I don't know, there's just sex in the air.
Right.
And yeah, and if you're a little turned on by someone else in the room with you.
I was thinking there's a weird skit by Louis C.K. where he's talking about how one of his friends liked when he jerked off to have like pressure on it. And apparently this can like fuck your dick up, so don't do it. But he would like dry hump the bed and ask Louis to sit on his ass.
I think I've heard this.
To increase, and Louis was like, remembers thinking when he was a kid, going, is this gay? Or am I just a really good friend? And that's kind of where I'm at with it, where I'm just like, yeah, maybe both. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive, I guess, but, you know, it's just strange to me.
Yeah, no, I'm just seeing friction burns all over the place.
Right.
I am now having sympathy pain.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if you're into that jerking off, how satisfying can sex be if you don't get that from it? Because you wouldn't, right?
You know, there's some retraining that's got to go on.
I would think so.
I was single for long enough where there's some retraining that's got to go on after a dry spell. But yeah, we spent way too long on this topic. So yeah, Raylan at the Marshall station. He's trying to find out information about the manhunt. Rachel's not really interested because he's on his time off. Okay. Then we go to Ty, and he's found himself stuck in the middle of nowhere. His car is overheated.
Oh, he has had some bad luck, buddy. Sorry.
Yeah, he is at the end of his rope. And he nearly puts a pistol round into the hood.
Okay, that was so funny to me, though. Like, he just, and then he stops himself, like, what are you doing, buddy? But I really understood, like, in that moment. And then he takes his phone out, and he doesn't have any service. He's having a Dewey moment, you know?
Yes.
Like,
with none of Dewey's good nature.
Yep.
Yeah, and he stops himself from doing anything he can't take back, and then he finds a cell signal and dials 911. What did you think when that happened?
I was worried about whoever showed up, and I wound up being right.
Okay, so you saw his plan immediately.
I didn't see his plan. I just figured it wasn't going to go well. You know, like, I'm like, I don't know what he's intending to do, but what is it that they say, dollars to donuts? Yep. What is that anyway? Dollars to donuts? I ate too many donuts today. Oh my God, I just remembered. But what does dollars to donuts come from?
Yeah, I bet you dollars to donuts. Maybe I will buy you donuts if this is correct and I'm positive. Or if I'm right, you need to buy me donuts.
Or maybe is donuts, does that mean like a zero? Like you don't even have to put any money down?
That could be. Or donuts could be like what was like an egg or something of like dough as in money.
Well, anyway, listeners, get back to us.
Right.
But yeah, I just really figured that whatever this was, no matter what his plan initially was, it was going to go bad, and these poor guys that got sent out were going to wind up dead. And
that's fair.
That's what happened, pretty much.
That's totally fair. So we leave Ty, though, stranded and formulating a plan, and we go deep in the woods where Boyd and Ava are hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And Boyd brings up the betrayals of Johnny and Devil. And says, if they were unhappy with their lot in my crew, why didn't they just come to me? I'm a reasonable man. And Ava says, maybe because they were afraid of what you were going to do to them and what you did to them.
Yeah, that was my favorite, is that she ended it with, and what you did to them. Hey, reminder, buddy. You know how they got shot in the head? That's why. You fucking dummy. Shut up. He's just trying to act like he's Mr. Benevolent over here. Like he's fooling anybody. Get out of here.
Yeah, and then he kind of like closes the gap on her, and you scared of me? And this, you can get a real good close-up of the bruises on her throat.
Yep.
Sometimes. And then he breaks away. He says, stay right there. And leaves for like a minute too long to let Ava simmer.
You know, I'm so over this man. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you, Boyd. What did you do?
You were supposed to be the chosen one.
I was so mad.
Yeah.
Why do you have to do this?
Yeah. So after a few moments of silence, shot rings out, and Boyd has shot a boar. And Ava is immediately checking herself for gunshot wounds.
Mm-hmm. As you would.
Right. First hog of the season. Baby, we're going to have some pork tonight.
It really grosses me out how easily he can go to, like, acting like everything's fine.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely got a sociopath streak in him. No question. No question.
I'm judging you, Boyd.
Fair. Deserves it. So back at the motel, the room, Raylan and Willa come back, and they find Winona, and she's looking freshly rested and dressed and, ready to take on the world again. And Raylan tells her they drove around, they went to the park for a bit, and she goes, and is that why your office called and said you left her pacifier there?
Mm-hmm.
Just did.
Oh, I loved it. And he's trying to make excuses, and she's like, holy shit, you are not listening to anything. Yeah. I know where you went. Like, she probably knew where he was going before he decided.
Probably.
He's not difficult to figure out.
And she says, I trust you with her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know how important your work is to you, and I've accepted that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he ever really knew that.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't even know that until he left with the baby. I mean, it's something he probably needed to hear.
Oh, this baby is so freaking cute, though, when they have her all curled up asleep in the crib.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And this is the scene where Winona confesses that when they were married, she'd worry about whether or not he was going to come home. And now she knows he's not coming home. And she preferred it the first way.
Mm-hmm.
To which Raylan's very confused.
Raylan, sweet Raylan. He can be so dumb sometimes. Like, it's not even that he's dumb. It's that he doesn't take the time to think things over and see other people's perspectives. Like, it's almost like he has somebody pegged in this one way, and the idea of their, like, opinion on something evolving never even occurs to him. It's just that one thing that he's thought this whole time is always going to be true. And that's probably very easy. And he just doesn't ever feel the need to update that information in his file. So she's telling him something that goes directly against what's in his file, and he just does not know what to make of it at all. Yeah,
no, not until she lays it out.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I love you and I miss you and I want you to come home and I don't care where home is. I don't care if it's here or in Miami or in the hills. Doesn't matter to me. But if you want it, I want you by my side raising our daughter. I guess what I'm saying is that you can be with me and still be you if that's something you want.
It was really sweet.
Yeah.
I liked it.
And he's just processing this when his cell phone goes off.
Mm-hmm.
And Winona pushes for him to answer it, and it's Rachel telling him that they've tracked Ava's phone to Bulletville. And he's like, I don't know why I should go there. No, I haven't heard from her, but I need some more time. Good luck.
Yeah, I'm like, on the one hand, I was like, you know what? Good for you. Because this is an important conversation, and I was glad he was taking it seriously. On the other hand, doesn't that seem like a red flag that she, like, got brought to this remote place that's Boyd's family's without saying anything to you at all?
Yeah.
But he's not thinking straight right now.
He's not. And I know that they're a small department, but this is that work-life balance. There is a point where he is off the clock.
Yep.
So yeah, he shuts down that whole line of that whole line of stuff, and then Raylan went on to make out on the bed.
Yep.
Yay them.
Yay. Yeah, Rachel looks so annoyed when he's just like, nah. But it's so funny because, like, this is what everybody seems to have been pushing him to do, was to not make his whole life about work. And I don't think that they realize just how good he is. Like, that when he decides that he's not going to be involved, it's, like, actually a serious problem, Yeah. But also,
it's a little bit like the season of The Wire. Jimmy McNulty as the cop on the beat instead of doing his murder detective thing. It's like, we could really use your help.
Right?
Like, nope, I'm good.
I'm very, very happy not doing any of that. Thank you.
So yeah, at least for a moment, Raylan's figured out his priorities, which is nice to see. Yay, character growth.
Yay. Temporary as it may be. Yay.
So on a much less happier scene transition, we go back to Ty in the woods, and an ambulance pulls up. And Ty starts spinning this story about his brother, who's just up the hill over that way, and he fell, and he's bleeding from a head wound.
Yeah, guys, like...
And...
He really doesn't think that everybody's going to be out looking for him the way that they are.
And it's very... We never really get sort of confirmation on this in the dialogue or anything, but it just becomes clear to him that these guys have heard the APB, they've seen his photo, they know... If they didn't know driving up, they know pretty much when they see him. He's pretty recognizable.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, like the thing that would have been smart for him to do is to pull off somewhere and buy a razor. Because you are not forgetting that fucking beard. If he didn't have that beard, I'm pretty confident if he popped up on camera, we didn't see him shaving, I would be like, who's that? For a solid minute before I realized that it was him, But
that's a very good point, yeah. Yeah, that's a really recognizable thing that he should be aware of.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, not a criminal, soldier.
Exactly. And he hasn't had a whole lot of time. I'm not sure how close he is to anywhere that he could get a razor. Like, there's a lot.
He was in the gas station bathroom pulling a bullet out of his shoulder.
See, I thought that was like a rest stop, and those often don't have a store. They're just a bathroom. But
that is true. I think it may have just been a rest stop and not a gas station. I don't recall. But yeah, that's definitely an oversight on Ty's part. And in this case, it costs these two EMTs their lives because one of them decides to try to sedate him.
And doesn't think that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Bless his little heart.
Yeah, and it gets them both shots. One guy who deserves it, not deserves it. That's harsh of me. But one guy who put himself in harm's way, and the other guy who didn't really deserve to get his brains splattered all over the side of the ambulance, but
that guy gets his everything splattered. Ty shoots him in the throat, then shoots him twice in the chest, then shoots him in the head. I was like, Ty, okay, buddy, we get it. He's dead now. Stop it. Like, he just really obviously is just taking out his fucking frustration. You know?
That's what he was going to do to the engine block 10 minutes ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just felt bad.
So.
Those poor dudes, you know?
Yep. And he doesn't get to use... I mean, I guess it would have been stupid of him to take the ambulance because they can track those, but he winds up taking off on foot with their medical bag. Mm-hmm. And that's the best he's got. Yep.
He could... he should have pulled a fucking fugitive and stolen the ambulance. Remember that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I haven't seen The Fugitive in probably 15 years at least, but... no, I don't. but can't they track? I mean, that's the thing. Like, can't you track that stuff? They have GPSs and whatnot in them.
They probably could. Like, I don't know how that works. But I guess when The Fugitive was made, it was like, what, 1995, 98?
I was in either middle school or early high school because I saw that at a birthday party in the theater. So, yeah, that was probably 95, 94, 93 maybe.
And he uses the ambulance to get through red lights and stuff. Like, you know, everybody pulls over when they hear the siren. Mm. So that's how he, like, gets through. But with modern technology, it probably would not work out as well for him.
Yeah, 1993.
Ah, okay. Even earlier than I thought. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, Ty takes off. And at least he's got some medication now. Mm-hmm. Back at the boar hunt, Boyd has fully, like, dressed his kill, and they're cooking it over an open fire. And, well, this is the scene. This is where they finally have their confrontation. What did you think of all this?
Like I said, I was impressed with how, once she laid it out there, I was like, oh, yeah, fuck this guy. Like, and he seemed taken aback himself. Like, he expected her confessing this to him was going to put him in the position of power, but once she was able to be like, you fucking abandoned me, and I know you made a deal, you fucking dick. Like, I really enjoyed that he didn't seem to know what to say for himself because he just didn't expect her to have a leg to stand on in this.
Yeah, well, I think even before that, I mean, her first admission to him, once he says, I know all of this stuff, she tells him, I'm a snitch for Raylan. Mm-hmm. And he looks like that idea never even entered his mind.
And then he has to ask her if she's sleeping with Raylan, which, you know, everybody was wondering.
That's true.
I just, like, the fact that seems to be at the forefront of his mind here really says something, doesn't it? You know?
It really does. It really, that's where his brain goes more than anything else. That's the question he chooses to ask her. A part of me wonders if that's just to try to throw her off. But I think that came more from the heart than from the head.
Agreed.
And then there's this whole interplay with the gun. He draws the gun, but then he gives it to her and tells her to shoot him. And she, you know, is near tears and shoves it back to him. And it's you. It's always been you. And you take that and do whatever you got to do with it.
Yeah. I felt like once it turns out that there are no bullets in it, I was just so irritated.
Yeah, that's
because I really thought he was like having a meltdown, but everything about Boyd is so orchestrated, you know. And I love in this scene he's got blood on his forearm still.
Yes,
you know, like he's washed his hands, but you know it's still there though.
Wash and wash. The dirt doesn't come off.
Out, damn spot.
You know, I almost made a lady protesting too much when you were talking about Catherine actually being the snitch.
Tee-hee.
And I restrained myself. But yeah, and they before the reveal of the gun, Boyd apologizes. No, he doesn't apologize.
No.
He just says, I let you down. No, I let you down and I'm sorry.
Oh, he does? Okay, because I just was so focused on him moving past it that I didn't even let it sink in.
Yeah, I mean, it's not much of an apology.
Yeah. I just don't feel like she ever, and I'm not saying this like I'm blaming her. I don't know what kind of opportunities she has had to really explain to him what it was like for her in there. Because I don't think he quite gets it. Like, he has been inside before, but there wasn't a crew, as she puts it, gunning for him.
Right. And and he aligned himself pretty quickly with the whole Aryan Brotherhood thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he has that immediate family in there, for lack of a better word. But yeah, like you said, she's been so closed off since she came back that you're right. This is the first time I think that she's ever talked about everything that was going on. Because even when she was in there and just saying, "I need you to get me out," that's really all that she would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, probably she was worried that they were going to, like, see or hear her, I guess, when she was talking about, like, that could be seen as snitching, right?
Okay.
I guess, but it did bother me at the time that she didn't say more about what was happening to her.
Yeah, I also think that I don't get the impression she's somebody who wants other people to solve her problems.
True.
And so I think she wanted to keep that to herself because Boyd was busy enough, and she knew for a while there that he was doing his best to work on getting her out of there until he stopped showing up.
Right.
And, by the time he did show up again, she'd gotten so embittered by his apparent lack of attention that it became beside the point. So, but yeah, so they do have it out there, and she lays it all out. Boyd certainly appears to. And this is they declare that they love each other again, and they embrace, and it seems very genuine. We even get a shot of Boyd, over the shoulder where she can't see him, and he's got that expression on his face like he means this.
Yeah, he does seem to.
And he asks her she's got to tell him everything she's told Raylan so that they can get out of the mess that they're now in. Mm-hmm. And she focuses on he focuses on trust and trust and trust, and she tearfully swears that she trusts him. And then he goes to get firewood, and he unloads that gun, and we see it's full of blanks.
Yeah, this moment where he, like, changes out that clip, I just cannot imagine how she doesn't see him doing this. You see how this is staged? Like, he is in full view of her if she looked up.
Yeah.
That's the only reason, really, that I'm kind of like, I don't think he's going to kill her. Because it doesn't seem like he's that worried about her seeing him do this. Yeah, well,
I wanted to ask you, because he does get that expression when he changes that, and then he looks to see if she was looking. But he has this expression on his face that is not the expression he was wearing 30 seconds before.
No. It's kind of the expression that makes me think, is he going to go kill Raylan? You know what I mean? Like, because I just don't see him killing Ava. I just don't see it happening. But I do see him needing to get this anger out. And Raylan is the number one person to go to.
To somebody with anger issues, yep, you go to Raylan. You're able to work on those anger issues. Maybe not resolve them, but work on them.
Because I'm sure in his mind, Raylan stepped in and got Ava out of jail when he couldn't or wouldn't do it. Raylan got her talking about him behind his back. Raylan is the guy that she was fucking before him. Like, there are so many reasons to hate him, I don't know.
Now, let me actually ask you on the subject of Raylan and Boyd and Ava. So now that we're a little further down the road here, what do you make of that kiss that Raylan and Ava had a few episodes ago?
I don't even know. I was thinking about that, and I was just like, I still don't get
it. Part of me wonders if this was her just, like, checking and seeing, like, is there something here?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know, because that, like, was still bothering me, to be honest. Especially when Boyd straight out asks her if she was sleeping with him. And she's like, you're really going to ask me that? Like, it's so outrageous, but you just kissed the guy. Yeah, and you were the one who initiated it without a doubt, so.
And her line back to him was, I think the exact line is, like, there was nothing with Raylan. Mm-hmm. And, like, well, you did make out with him just a little.
Yeah, you did. That definitely happened.
So, yeah, maybe that doesn't count because it was only first base, but still. Yeah, all right. Well, again, maybe our opinion on that will develop as we go through a little further.
Indeed.
So our last scene of the episode is Winona and Willa, and they are packed and dressed for their trip back to Florida. And they say their goodbyes. And Winona says, so we're going to do this then. And his response is, I don't see how we don't try.
Which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. And he kisses them both and see you soon. Yeah. Yes, you will. And they also joke about the odds of their chances of making it.
Yeah, she's like, he says 51, and she's like, which way? And he just kisses her and doesn't answer. And I'm like, yeah, that seems right.
Yeah, I feel like that seems accurate for them.
Yep.
What do you think the odds are for Boyd and Ava? Is there any going back?
I mean, it's just so hard to say because I think what she did just is so understandable. She wasn't just doing this for greed. She wasn't like his cousin, you know? It wasn't her. She loved him the whole time, and it killed her to do this. But, you know, minor spoiler for Sopranos, we have a woman betraying her man in Sopranos who gets knocked off, but she did that because she was worried about him and was convinced somehow that, like, turning on him was going to help the two of them get out of that life, which is just her being kind of in denial about, like, the reality of the world that they lived in and what he wanted. Ava, it was just about her. She needed to stay alive. And to me, that's so much more understandable, and it felt like there really wasn't a good alternative, you know?
Sure.
So
sure. Now, I know earlier in the season we talked about how the idea of her sleeping around on him wasn't as offensive as the idea of her snitching on him.
Right. Which now it seems like it's been flipped.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, so again, our sides are sort of picked now. We have a clearer idea of where Ava is, at least, for the first time all season.
Yeah, I really, like I said, I wish that she would just talk to Boyd a little bit more deeply about what she went through, because I don't know that he can really understand what she was experiencing and what she was up against.
You think Boyd's in a place where he'd be able to hear that now?
I'm not sure he'd be able to, but I really wish she'd try. You know, like when she's just saying those girls were gunning for me, it doesn't get across that they looked at in my eyes, went into the bathroom and knifed my friend to death. Like, that is a fucking, it's just, it was so much worse than it sounds like when she says it like that, you know?
Mm. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Anyway.
So, all right. Well, that's our episode from top to bottom.
Indeed. Well, everybody, I want to say hi to patrons and then we'll wrap up. New this week, we have Kim Nister, Quinn Hunsucker, Allie Hartley, Anya Kriska, and Tierney Nicholson. So welcome to all of you guys. A few of you are $5 and up, which is awesome, and you will get access to Twin Peaks, which I am doing with Maggie, and we're just going to be starting the 5th episode next week of season 3, the new season. So that has been a wild ride. And then coming up in October for patrons of all pledge numbers, I will be doing the Unspooked series again, which those of you who do not know, it is a live reading of some of the creepier stories that I've found on the interwebs. It initially started out as me reading like some classic Halloween-y tales. Like I read the Headless Horseman of Sleepy Hollow and The Telltale Heart for the first 2 episodes. And then I started to realize that some of the stories that people share online about things that happen to them are just freakier. They're just scary. And I did those, and then I started to add some sound effects and music. And I feel like I really hit my stride last year where I found some really, really creepy music. And I am really excited to start that again this year, because I'm not going to lie. I have come, like, when I record them, I have read the stories already before. It's not like I'm reading them for the first time on the air. And it doesn't matter. I still break out in goosebumps. I still freak myself the fuck out while I'm recording. And I can only imagine, because there was one story that took place in the woods, And one of my listeners lives in a very heavily wooded area and has to walk a little bit to get from her house to her car. And she said she was listening to my podcast at like 5:30 in the morning, getting out in the dark in the woods, hearing about this like horrifying thing. And she said that she wound up having to sprint the rest of the way to her car because she got so freaked out. And I was like, yeah, I understand. Like there was one time a particular story got to me so bad that I had to stop recording and call Owen and be like, hey babe, I love you. Like I just needed to hear a human voice and not freak myself out with the cats making noise, telling myself that it was a fucking poltergeist or something. So anyway, I'm really excited to be doing that for October. And those of you who are into Stranger Things, it's going to be coming back on the 28th, I think. 27th. My bad. 27th. So I'm going to start covering that again with Maggie. Last year, we did a fundraiser in order to do it at an accelerated pace. But we're just going to do one episode a week this time because that was just too much. And I don't want to start another fundraiser when I still have the one for the trip going. So keep an eye out for that. And Rashawn and I also just started to do the final season of Leftovers, which is, that show is just so wild and I really enjoy it. And we just did the very, very first episode on Monday and you all will be seeing it next week. So keep an eye out for that as well if you're into the Leftovers. And I think that's about everything I wanted to announce this time around. Anything you want to add, sir?
No, other than I encourage our listeners to leave us a review on iTunes. Tell us what dollars to donuts means.
Yeah, I want to know that too. I just don't like, I feel like something in my gut tells me that it means like zeros, but
okay.
I could just look this shit up, right?
Yes, but they could also leave it in the form of an iTunes review and we'll read it on the air.
Alan repeated with some emphasis. Is a pseudo betting term. Pseudo in that it didn't originate with actual betting involving donuts, but just as a pleasant sounding alliterative phrase which indicated short odds. Dollars are valuable, but donuts aren't. Huh. It's so much more boring than I expected.
I like donuts.
I would
valuable to me.
I guess $1 would probably buy you like 2 donuts though. So really, you get where they're coming from, right? Like
I guess, but I mean, do you remember Neil's Donuts?
I ate so many donuts today, Alan. Like just today. Donuts are not a thing that we keep around, but Owen bought a bunch for an early morning job that he had to feed his dudes, and they didn't eat a lot of them. And he put the box in the car, and then I went grocery shopping. I did a bunch of errands. I went to Zumba, and then I had to go pick Owen up from work, and it was a wait because he wasn't done yet. So I sat in the car for like 20 minutes, and after Zumba and doing all this stuff, and I hadn't eaten for like 6 hours, and I was fucking starving, and I opened that box. There were 3 plain glazed yeast donuts left. I took a bite of one, and I immediately knew I had made a terrible mistake. And I was like, this thing tastes like the purest heroin. And I ate that donut in about 10 seconds, and the other 2 were gone within like a minute and a half. It was astonishing, even to me. I am not the kind of person that... I love food, and I will overeat, but I don't do it quickly. I do it like in bits throughout the day. And this was just like, Owen got in the car, and I was like... I might have eaten all of the rest of the donuts, and he made me feel so much better by going, I ate 6 this morning. I was like, I love you so much. So anyway, donuts, guys, they rock. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week with a new episode.
Bye.
Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some? I'm fighting for my soul, God get you, boy. You try to go, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some?
I see them long, hard times to come.
My life is ill, son, prepared to kill, son. Paradox of pain, baby, is real, son. Lonely traveler, ain't trying to value you, but if you're feeling tough, dog, I walk up all challenges. Ain't got no family.
This is is an Unspoiled Network podcast.